Alright, what's up everybody? It's good to be back. I gotta say it's taken me a little bit longer than I would have liked to, because I unfortunately got sick for a good 2 weeks or something. Yeah, it took me a while to recover, and I've been kind of trying to, pick things back up ever since. First with the reaction channel, where I of course still upload 5 times a week. And then now with the gaming channel, I wanted to, get back into a nice little rhythm here, because I had such a good thing going for a while there. But yeah, I gotta say we have quite a lot to talk about this week too, right? So one of the biggest stories by far, and I gotta say it's still a rumor for now. It's not actually been confirmed or announced yet, but that being said, multiple sources basically corroborated on it and have therefore practically confirmed that this is actually going to be a reality. Is that a Horizon Zero Dawn remaster/remake actually seems to be in the works right now. And of course, this had a lot of people sort of, I don't know if upset is the right word, but it definitely sparked quite a discussion, of course, especially coming off of just now the release of The Last of Us Part 1, which I myself also made a huge video about. And while The Last of Us Part 1, of course, I already mentioned all these things, while talking about it in that video. While it is a great game, and while the product itself may still be fantastic, and of course the work that they did with replacing the assets and stuff, it looks very good. It's, there's nothing wrong with the game on its own. To me, it was sort of just the greater vision behind it, the idea behind it, and the implications that the potential success of a product like this could have. Yeah, that had me therefore not being too keen on supporting it, ultimately, right? It was definitely the price tag as well, that should be mentioned too, $80, which is, quite ridiculous when you compare the amount of effort that clearly did not go into this product compared to what would have gone into an actual, new AAA game from PlayStation. But yeah, it was, again, the resources even being put towards it, and therefore not towards new, original, unique, games. That's ultimately what sort of was the bigger conversation for me, and the fact that if something like that, if a game like that performs well, there is literally no reason for Naughty Dog not to start working on an Uncharted 1, 2, 3 remake while they're at it. 4 even, hell, why not? And not have to worry about making any more new games in the process, right? That's the way I look at it, and I always notice that this is kind of the disconnect that can be very much there between myself and then also, sort of these newcomers that sometimes find my videos for the first time and they don't know about me, right? And they just automatically sort of start posting these things like, well, dude, if you don't care about the game, then just move on, right? They're not exactly wrong by saying it, because that's of course the way I am actually treating it too. But over here, like I said, we talk about the bigger picture. And so, going into this topic about Horizon, the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster/remake, I will say, and this is a disclaimer I have to make, because of course, I could very easily treat this now as an I told you so situation. Look, we're just coming off of Last of Us Part 1, they're doing the same thing here with Horizon. This is bad, right? But I will say again, having not fully seen the product yet, it's very unclear right now what this Horizon, again, remaster/remake is even going to look like. There's a couple of details that are known about it that the sources have indicated to us, which is that Guerrilla seems to be, replacing character models, some of the lighting, some of the animations too, but the word that we did ultimately get was this was very much looking more like an actual remaster than a remake, and it makes a lot of sense too, because let's be honest, Horizon Zero Dawn came out literally 5 years ago, I think. Yeah, 2017, right? Still looks good. You can't even necessarily really remake that game. It's very odd too, because Horizon Zero Dawn still right now on the PS5 is perfectly playable, right? Still looks absolutely gorgeous, and I think they even patched it so that you can play it in 60 frames. So there is, once again, even less of a reason for people to wanna spend money here, on whatever this game is going to end up being. And so it would not surprise me if what we're actually talking about here is going to be a little bit more like a Legacy of Thieves type situation, where maybe for people who already owned the game originally, they can now simply upgrade it for about $10 or something like that, which still, like, I'm not going to be, once again, really prepared to do that. I mean, I played Horizon Zero Dawn when it came out, beat it, definitely enjoyed it, but I don't need to play it ever again, in all honesty. And so, yeah, I personally won't really care too much about it, but maybe it's going to be kind of like that, right? So offer it up for, you know, $10 for people who played the game already. Kind of charge, well, I don't know if they would do full price again, but maybe something like $50 for anyone who did not get the game originally, and replace it in the PlayStation Store, you know, buy this new remastered version of the game. That being said, and you know, here I go again, I guess, but there is very much a greater conversation that we need to talk about in this video, because among this remastered version of Horizon Zero Dawn, there was actually an entire list that leaked full of games which PlayStation seems to be working on right now. And the very interesting thing that we could see there is how it contained only a couple of franchises, but apparently for almost all of these franchises there were sort of multiple products being listed. So for example, when it came to Horizon, it also made mention of the fact that there is going to be Horizon Forbidden West DLC, you know, coming our way, and support being mentioned as well. There is an online game, apparently. This is, of course, one of the bigger rumors that we've seen come out of Guerrilla already, which I remember talking about last year, how they were seemingly working on a huge multiplayer title. It only makes sense that it would take place in the universe of Horizon, because it's just kind of like their big thing right now, of course. Their, you know, their big series, I guess, which they're focusing on very much. Of course, we know that there's a VR experience coming out. PlayStation also announced, I don't know when exactly they did, but that there is, you know, there is going to be a Horizon TV series coming our way too. And so this is what it immediately sort of made me think of, right? Is that when you simply look at the direction that PlayStation seems to be going in with a lot of these franchises, not just talking, of course, about Horizon, but again, take The Last of Us, right? Where we literally just had the remake come out, Part 2, which released in 2020, and now the TV show is, of course, headed our way, for which we got actually a trailer, I think it was only last week. You can very much tell that PlayStation is taking these franchises in different kinds of directions, right? And they're treating them in a bigger way than they ever used to do. There's actually more examples of this. For example, we know that they apparently aim to be reviving Twisted Metal, which is a little bit of a random pick, I guess, because I feel like the last time we had a Twisted Metal game was back on PlayStation 3. It did used to be a pretty big franchise, of course, in the early days of PlayStation. For that, they first announced this TV show that they were working on, and now apparently it's becoming clear that they actually put the team that made Destruction All-Stars, the game that launched along with the PlayStation 5, or actually maybe they delayed that from the launch of the PS5, right? But whatever. They put that, actually, or they gave them the task of making a, you know, a Twisted Metal reboot for PlayStation 5 that will be coming our way. You can, of course, look at the Uncharted franchise, for which we literally had the movie, as well as the Legacy of Thieves collection, you know, come out earlier this year. And by the way, I'm sure there's going to be people who want to know this from me, but yes, in fact, I did actually end up watching the movie. Unfortunately, so nah, I was like, I mean, it was honestly, it was a fine movie, you know, it was entertainment. I kind of did that in a drunk mood. I had not planned on it at all, and I watched it with a couple of beers, like I said. So it, you know, the experience, like, it didn't annoy me the way I thought it would. But that being said, I'm still a little bit like, well, it's a C tier, it's a C tier product in an A tier franchise. You know what I mean? That's just kind of the way I look at it, and that's why I still find it a little bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. But like I said, we are seeing PlayStation head into this direction for all of these franchises, where they're trying to pull them into unknown territory, if that makes sense. And so with The Last of Us, for example, it should be mentioned next year. Of course, there's going to also be that Factions live service game. We've heard PlayStation in general say that they do want to start exploring live service games, and it seems like the way that they are starting to do that is by simply taking these franchises that already are so popular and then trying to build those live service games around those, you know, so that they know that simply by name recognition, they'll have a lot, you know, a lot bigger of a shot, I guess, at potentially becoming successful. Now, of course, that also goes at the cost of a different vision. And therefore, just looking at everything here, what it instantly reminded me of is the fight, which we heard about back in 2019, essentially between Sean Layden and Jim Ryan, right? Who were two of the, you know, bigger heads over at PlayStation. Sean Layden used to be leading it, but he had this falling out. he left the studio, and we never truly got to hear what that whole dispute was about. What was it that differed so much in the vision between these two people that got them to have that falling out? Sean Layden did always, kind of, how should I put this? He hinted at what future he foresaw for PlayStation and how he was really looking at like variety and a bigger diversity in the lineup and stuff that he kept talking about, right? That's why you always saw him wearing those shirts over at PlayStation Experience with these more unknown PlayStation franchises. And I think when you think about the PlayStation that we used to know back in the PS3, but also maybe even say the early PlayStation 4 days, there was, how should I put this? It's, I think even right now, PlayStation is still definitely emphasizing some of the smaller games. Take something like Kena or whatever, right? Which they heavily promoted. Or, like I said, Destruction All-Stars. Maybe something like the Sackboy spin-off game that they did. They're still doing that, don't get me wrong. But I feel like it's more that they are supporting games that require a little bit less of a budget, if that makes sense, that are kind of more outside of their realm. Whereas if you think about PlayStation, like I said, back in those early PS4 days, with something like, say, Until Dawn, right? Or the Order 1886, or maybe like Drive Club, Knack, all of these kinds of titles, still with a relatively large budget behind them, but of course not necessarily the big successes that they would have wanted them to become, and therefore, maybe take something like The Last Guardian too. All of these franchises, Detroit Become Human, all of these developers who they partnered up with, they essentially broke those relationships eventually, right? And even thinking about, say, Days Gone, which we heard about, a lot of people love that game, actually ended up selling pretty well ultimately, right? But still, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for Jim Ryan. And so they just asked Sony Bend to say goodbye to that franchise and work on something new and hope that it's going to become a bigger success, if that makes sense. So, like I said, PlayStation seems to be more and more focused on those big franchises and trying to then pull them into, or make these, how should I put this? It's like the Marvel/Disney direction. The way that you saw that the moment Disney bought Star Wars, they started simply using that name to then create a bunch of different, types of shows and movies, of course, but also, like I don't know, toys, all these kinds of things to make that out of it and to make a lot of money off of the name, essentially, right? This is very much the direction PlayStation is going in. That's become very evident to me. Of course, that leaves me to talk kind of about, like, how do I feel about this? I don't really know. See, I don't think necessarily it's a bad decision or something. Of course, if you're a fan of these franchises, then this simply means that you're getting more out of it. And who doesn't want to get more out of, their favorite franchise, right? That being said, I think me personally, what I notice with, most of the series over here is that I'm definitely starting to already notice a little bit of, burnout or something. I'm definitely burned out on The Last of Us right now myself. This is also why, like the whole TV show is a completely different conversation in and of itself. A lot of people were surprisingly impressed by what they just showed of the HBO show, right? The trailer that they released. And I gotta say, like, I understand that because it's looking definitely like a well-made show. I mean, you already know with HBO behind it, they're gonna put, the production values are gonna be insane, and they're gonna make sure that this is gonna be a high-quality ride. So I don't really have my doubts there. It was kind of the same with that Uncharted movie, where I'm like, I never questioned the quality of the movie in itself. It was just the fact that, to me, I wouldn't be able to really take it seriously, seeing different actors play these characters that I loved so much. When it comes to The Last of Us, that's definitely part of it. But for me, it's also just the fact that what we're seeing them show us there is literally still the exact same story. And to me, it's just like, I don't understand why people are that excited to relive the same journey all over again. You know what I mean? Like, you're literally watching a TV remake of a remaster of a 2013 game. And so, already not caring for the game remake that just came out because, again, it was the price tag and it was all the things I mentioned, but it's also simply the fact that I beat The Last of Us 8 times or something already. I know that whole journey in and out, so there's nothing really it can do for me anymore there. And it's like I said, the same thing with the TV show, bar the fact, of course, that I'm sure there's going to be new scenes in that too. They're going to sort of expand on, you know, maybe on certain characters. They're gonna translate all of the gameplay sequences that were in there into a TV format. So, you know, it's gonna be cool to see how they show us, for example, the sniper fight or something, right? Yeah, things like that. Like, that'll be exciting about it. But what I would personally more like is for them to actually take these franchises then and build unique shows out of them. Like, take the universe of The Last of Us. There is so much you can do there. You could make a TV show out of it, which just covers a whole different faction of people with their, you know, going on their own adventure and having their own struggle for survival, I guess, in that case. The same way that, well, I don't know what they plan on doing with the Horizon TV show. Again, you can just follow Aloy the way that she's been going on her journey in the original games, but I wouldn't care for that whatsoever, you know? Like, show me a different side of that universe that I didn't actually get to see in the games. Now then, if you do that, that's where you're actually adding value. Yeah, again, as far as like the multiplayer concept, that's not necessarily a bad thing either, right? I understand, and this is just how Sony kind of looks at it too, like AAA games simply end up being a big risk ultimately. It's a lot of money and effort that goes into those, and they're products that they can only sell once, while the competition, you know, when it comes to Xbox, but also, you know, Ubisoft and all these companies with their, you know, look at how Ubisoft pulled Assassin's Creed into the live service, you know, aspect essentially, right? And how they're selling you these microtransactions. It's like, these are bad business practices, but they do work. That's just the reality of it. That's what PlayStation sees, and they want a piece of that pie, right? And this is the way they're doing that. So, like I said, some of it is, you know, could be good, some of it could be bad. I mean, it all depends on what they actually do with these franchises. And I'm also sure, you know, having already brought up the Uncharted movie, because they push that so heavily, there is no way, and I've said this all this time, but like, we're going to see Uncharted continued. And there too, I am super hesitant. I'll be the first person to say that, like, yeah, I'm not really sure if I want to see another Uncharted game. You know, I don't really know if I want Naughty Dog to work on it. I don't know if they would do a good job and really, yeah, continue to appeal to me in the way that the Uncharted franchise always appealed to me so much, you know, the amount of nostalgia that I still have right now. I mean, I still just look at those games and I sort of long back to the good old days, and it's like, man, on one hand, God, I would love for Uncharted to come back, but at the same time, it's like, but do I really want it to come back? It's that constant, you know, struggle that I have, and again, the same thing sort of counts with a lot of these franchises, like I said. Ultimately, what I myself long for right now is definitely, and I'm just going to be completely honest about it, it's just to get unique, high-quality experiences. And so, this is kind of the way I look at it at this moment. PlayStation very much still is focused on the high-quality experiences. There is nothing to worry about there. It is definitely the uniqueness that I'm starting to worry about a bit too much, because leaning so much on just a number of them, and again, if there's only one or two that really appeal to you personally, it simply means that, you know, you could be a fan of it, but you're only getting new games and shows, like I said, and stuff from those franchises. And PlayStation isn't really focused to give, or prepared, I guess, to give the smaller titles a chance, the games that could actually bring that uniqueness, that could bring you the variety that you really crave for. And so, I think I've really said everything that I have been wanting to say in this video. Of course, guys, make sure you let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about the direction PlayStation is heading into? What do you think about the news of this Horizon remaster potentially coming out? Of course, let me remind you that over on my second channel, I still put out 5 videos a week. Right now, and that's a reaction channel, by the way, so I just react to a bunch of story-driven stuff. Right now, it's mostly focused on anime, so for anybody here who are anime fans, I'm actually reacting to Death Note, Vinland Saga, and Jujutsu Kaisen as well over there, so go and check that out. I will be doing a God of War Ragnarok playthrough by the time it comes out, and again, my plan with that channel is basically, it's a nice way for me to still put out content much more frequently. Yeah, while being focused on what it is I absolutely love, which has always been storytelling and always probably will be. So with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you back in the next one.